We know that our mate Colm Flynn has always got great stories from all the way around the world, but he's back in home base right now and he's in Rome and he's inside an incredible basilica and it has a connection to Australia. Colm, tell us of where you are.
Paul, it is so great to see you again. Yeah, it's always amazing. Last week we were speaking from Algeria. Today I'm back in Rome and I'm standing in this incredible library. It's called Biblioteca Valliciliana. Now, try saying that 3 times with a mouthful of spaghetti. It ain't easy, but let me flick to this second shot here. Look at this. Isn't this amazing, wow. Paul? For some of our younger viewers, this is called a library, and these are books. This is old school technology. But this dates back from the 17th century, was established by St. Philip Neri, one of the great saints of the Catholic Church. And surrounding me are these ancient manuscripts, records of papal documents, incredible history, and an incredible centre of learning and education. And tonight, what is amazing is that, Paul, for one night only, the Australians are taking over this library right in the centre of Rome, beside Piazza Navona, close to the Vatican, because the Australian University of Notre Dame and the Australian Embassy to the Holy See, with the great ambassador Keith Pitt, they're hosting this conference on artificial intelligence and how it pertains to education. Now, Paul, you and I know that AI is changing so many aspects of our life, even in media. I mean, we use it now all the time for our scripting, for putting stories together, for our editing. And while it is a great asset, it also poses questions. Well, then what is real? What is fake? Or what does truth mean anymore? We know that certain jobs are being threatened by artificial intelligence. But tonight, I'll be moderating this conference with some great people on the panel, our Australian friends. And we'll be talking about how is AI changing the way education is taught in universities, but also how students are learning. And what is really cool about this, Paul, is that we are looking at it through the prism of John Henry Newman. He's a great saint of the church as well. He was an Anglican, a professor in Oxford University in the UK, who converted to Catholicism. He went on to become a great cardinal. He went on to become a saint. But his whole idea was that for a student, a person to be fully formed and to be wholly educated, it wasn't good enough that they were an intellect and a learned person who could maybe read and recite all of these manuscripts around me. But you needed to have a formation of character, of virtue, of spirit as well. So it was, intellectual, it was philosophical, it was theological as well. And the problem today that we'll be discussing tonight is that now when students want to get an answer, they go to ChatGPT. In the past, this library would have been filled with students. When they wanted to get a piece of information or they needed to reach a conclusion, they would have to come in here and put in the groundwork. And in that pursuit of truth and education, they would be encountering different arguments, moral arguments, ethical arguments. They could be talking to their professor, their friends, considering points of view they might not have considered before. Whereas now students are going and they're getting the answer in an instant. So it's cutting out that journey. So tonight in the panel, we'll be discussing that, Paul. What does that mean? It's making students more efficient, but it's taking away that deep learning and that process of, getting to the destination and the piece of information that you need.
Well, but also, the obvious juxtaposition of where you are about a building, I'm just double checking, 1581. 130,000 documents, precious documents around you, right? That, as you say, people thinking that the phone is the primary source, right? The phone is a tool, sure. Internet learning, all the rest of it, AI as you're dealing with, it's very convenient and fun in lots of different ways, but there is no substitute for trying to first source if you can. Now, obviously, nobody's going to be able to go and literally go and find this document from, 2 centuries ago. But the idea that a person who did that and then wrote a book about it becomes a way of getting as close to the source material as possible. And it's not old school, it's better.
Yeah, and that document that you're looking for from the 2nd century, maybe I can find it here for you, Paul, if you give me a minute. And Anthony, can we cut to that wide shot again? Isn't this amazing? It's just incredible. But you hit the nail on the head, Paul, because really what you're talking about is the difference between knowledge and wisdom. And with artificial intelligence, AI does not have a soul. It doesn't have a conscience. There's a fascinating case in the US at the moment where these grieving parents are suing ChatGPT because their 16-year-old son was suicidal. And he went to AI and he said, I want to take my own life. And he was asking about different ways to do it. Now, the AI technology had the knowledge that he wanted, but it didn't have the wisdom, sadly, not to give it to him and to tell him to go and get help. So that is the danger when you're relying on it as your primary source of information. When you take out those human elements, it's going to be a fascinating discussion. And you know what? It took the Australians coming here to Rome to host it tonight. So thank you, Australia, for this.
Well, thank you, Colm, and thank you, Rome. We love you, mate. We'll see you again next week.